So it's a young, vibrant population that are now rediscovering the world. And it's so exciting to see how they are emerging into this world and what they're bringing with them. I'm a very big believer, though, in winning your home game first. So right now we're in the process of winning the home game. We've won the first quarter. We've got a long way to go, but certainly the plan is to grow internationally, to develop an international multi-purpose portfolio.
It's Project Cargo Professionals. We are here in Dubai, and I have the pleasure of being with Lars Greiner, CEO, multipurpose business at Red Sea Gateway Terminal. End of a busy, big week. How was it for you, Lars?
It has indeed been very busy, very productive. Breakbulk Conference as always has been a chance to meet old friends as well as new ones, and the industry continues growing. It's nice to see all the people coming into it and the way it's changing.
And you've had a global career. Tell us a bit about that, your background, what you've been doing up until now, and how that helps you in your new role today in Saudi Arabia.
I kind of like to say that I sort of fell into it by accident with a family that came into shipping. I tried to escape, but I couldn't. I think I've spent half my career managing assets and the other half telling people how to manage assets. So at the end of the day, I'm allergic to strategies that don't survive the first operations, but I've had the privilege of seeing both success and failure in those from inside and from outside. Having worked for shipping lines, having worked for cargo owners, having worked for forwarding companies, and so the move into terminal first consulting and then terminal management was a very natural one, because your ports are your strategic asset and the one thing that cannot be moved. Ships, you can move different ports, trucks the same, railway the same, but your ports remain where they are.
And so talk a bit more about your current role then, and what attracted you to it.
So the opportunity in the Red Sea multi-purpose business developed over several years. Originally, the Saudi government had the intention to privatize these all the way back in 2019. And I was aware of it at the time in my role as a consultant. And in 2021, I started consulting to Red Sea Gateway Terminals to consult to them as to how best to approach at that stage, the tender to this. Things changed, the government changed, and it was decided to do a direct negotiation with the government for a PPP. And when RSGT approached me with opportunity to take over this business, first to acquire these terminals and then to grow internationally with a multi-purpose business, I saw it as a fantastic opportunity. I think one of the things that one sees too little of is focused multi-purpose terminal businesses around the world. Most people can name offhand the 5 biggest container terminal operators, but I would challenge anyone to do that for multi-purpose terminal operators.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to take this role on and to start running with it.
So as the name suggests, you guys are on the West Coast only?
At the moment, we're only on the West Coast. Of course, we have global ambitions, and we are the Saudi national champion for ports. Our container division has, I'm sure you're aware, recently acquired Bangladesh, and is in talks on a couple of other projects at the moment. And for our sins, we are at the moment discussing Djibouti as well as a potential multi-purpose terminal expansion outside of Saudi already.
But you were telling me earlier that you think the West Coast is really where the opportunity is.
Absolutely. I believe very strongly that the Red Sea is a key junction point in the international business. It's one has its challenges from time to time, but I think most areas do. But there is so much opportunity there. On the Red Sea coast in Saudi Arabia, we have a lot of capacity that needs to be optimized. And so we're in the right place at the right time to really start developing. And with Saudi Vision 2030 to become a global hub, we have the facilities. There's some work we need to do on them, and some expertise we are now bringing to it to really create world-class terminals that can serve as hubs between east-west, but also between east and south.
And as you said, there's a huge amount going on in Saudi, World Cup coming up. On the multi-purpose side, what's driving most of the business that you're seeing at the moment?
At the moment, we're seeing, obviously we have the Red Sea crisis at the moment, which has put a little bit of brake on some of our business. Less of a brake than one would maybe have expected, or compared to what we're seeing on the container side. But I think on the Red Sea coast, we're seeing the Vision 20 project starting to come to fruition now. One of the focuses is mining. We're starting to see the development of mining. Manufacturing is also developing. If one looks at the Saudi as a whole, the East has long been developed, and most people, when they associate with Saudi Arabia, they will tell you things about the East and the oil and the gas in the East and all the development there. The West Coast has a lot of assets, it has a lot of resources that haven't really been developed yet. And I think one of the key drivers or key things that we're seeing in Vision 2030 is for that development to be matched on the West Coast as well. So it's not just the oil and gas, but the mining has massive potential on the East, on the coast. Manufacturing we're starting to see the development of smelters and blending facilities.
Some very nice hotels coming up.
The hotels are already, they're already there. Then obviously at the moment they're not maybe as used as they could or should be, and I think that's more because people still associate with Saudi of old, and modern Saudi is changing rapidly. But I can assure you, the Red Sea is beautiful. The diving is magnificent. There with Alua, which I'm sure you've heard of. The geology and the archaeology is fantastic. There's a big tourist industry waiting to grow there right now. And yes, the hotels will play part of that, but there's other tourist infrastructure that's going to be starting to come in now as well. So overall, it's a general modernization of the West Coast that we're seeing that's driving the projects.
And talk a bit about the World Cup, where you see the risks and the opportunities from a logistics perspective. How ready is Saudi Arabia for the World Cup?
Well, I think that the World Cup really just puts a stopwatch on everything. It sets your goal for and allows us to focus on where we're going with it. Really, for us, it's a case of prioritizing what projects for the government as well. There are certain projects which now need to be prioritized in time for that. The World Cup. I was in South Africa for the 2010 World Cup, or for the lead up for the 2010 World Cup, and we saw a lot of prioritization, of projects that had been floundering for a while. Given this hard stop, they suddenly moved forward. And I think we'll see the same in Saudi Arabia. We'll see,
gives you another impetus.
Absolutely, certainly your general population projects, your transport services, your capacities for entertainment, etc. They need to be in place. As I said, there's a hard stop on those, and so we'll see those prioritized and start to move forward significantly very quickly now, and that's exciting because it also means that the cities such as Jeddah will start to develop proper international transport infrastructure, which is really what we need.
And presumably you'll see new stadiums popping up in your region.
I think in Jeddah we're looking at one new stadium only, really.
Okay.
It's more a refurbishment of the existing stadium.
Oh, right.
Saudis are absolutely football mad. I had the joy last January of going to watch Barcelona against Real Madrid at an absolutely sold-out Jeddah stadium with 66,000 fans. And for anyone who wasn't in the stadium, you would have sworn you're in Spain, because there were swathes of both supporters, except they weren't Spanish. They were Arabs and or Saudis, I should say. So it really is a very big sport already in Saudi Arabia. I don't think people, even with the Saudi Pro League, I don't think people realize how big it really is. So it's really just a case of modernization of the facilities that exist already. And in Jeddah, at least, I stand to be corrected, but I think it's only one new stadium, but it's the refurbishment of the other stadiums that really is the major thing. And again, the transport infrastructure to and from them.
Sounds like you're quite enjoying living and working there.
It's exciting. I compare it, as I mentioned before, to very much to Dubai in the 90s. It's got huge potential. I think it's moving forward rapidly. I think the big difference between Dubai in the 90s is you've got such a large percentage of Saudi people. It's not a place where most of the people around are expats. 50% of the population is Saudi, and of the Saudi population, 60% is under the age of 30 years old. So Wow. It's a young, vibrant population that are now rediscovering the world, and it's so exciting to see how they are emerging into this world and what they're bringing with them. So yes, it's a very exciting time. It can be challenging because things are still developing. One of the most common conversations I have is not yet. So they want to do things, but all this development takes time. And the impatience is rising, but I think that speaks well to future development.
Yeah. We do read in the press that Saudi Arabia may have been a bit too ambitious, might need to take a look at some of these new mega projects and rethink the size and the scale of them. Are you seeing that, or is it full steam ahead?
I think with any projects, there is ongoing recalibration. It's particularly in the modern world right now with the geopolitical world that it is, things are constantly changing. Certainly, the Saudi projects are ambitious. I would debate with you whether some of them are over-ambitious or just on too tight a time scale. I think the development is certainly there. Saudi is planning long-term. They are developing. It is a large economy. I don't think we see that as overly ambitious. I think it's just a case of replanning the timelines and optimizing the plans. Previously I've done projects in and around Africa where you had to recalibrate the project plans as you were going, and that should be no different in Saudi Arabia. I think it's just on a much bigger scale.
And let's go back to your facilities and talk a bit about how well equipped you are to handle breakbulk and project cargo and what you can offer.
So I think the important thing to understand is that we're a young company. We've just taken over concessions that have been that have lacked the development over the last couple of years. Our role is to come in and to stimulate that development, not only in terms of investment and infrastructure building, but also to resource and capacity building. I very often compare Saudi Arabia, if you look at it in terms of logistics, oil and gas. Saudi is absolutely world class. Everyone knows Aramco. They are very, very good at what they do. If you look at containers over the last 10 years, thanks to Red Sea Gateway, the container industry in Saudi has changed and it's become very modern as well. Now we've been tasked to do the same with all the other cargo types. And I think it's very much, the initial learning is very much an educational for them to understand how different cargo types are handled, how to differentiate and specialize them. Our clear mandate is to diversify beyond containers. And that's what we intend to do. So we're going to be breaking it down into breakbulk, general cargo, ro-ro, project cargo, liquid bulk, dry bulk. Whereas before, a lot of it was done in the same terminal, in the same place. We'll be sort of specializing areas to achieve optimization and efficiencies.
Today's episode is brought to you in partnership with SAL, one of the world's leading carriers in the maritime transport of heavy lift and project cargo. SAL operates one of the most advanced fleets in the sector. Together with SAL Intermarine, they operate around 80 multipurpose and ultra-heavy lift vessels, supported by a global team of more than 1,200 people and 27 offices in 23 countries. Part of the Harren Group, SAL is known for quality, technical innovation, and a strong commitment to safety and environmental performance, including its latest Orca-class new build program, setting new benchmarks for green technologies. And through the JSI Alliance, customers can access a combined fleet of around 90 heavy lift, multi-purpose, and offshore vessels, further strengthening their global capability. Find out more via the link in the description below.
And Jeddah has big potential to become a project cargo breakbulk hub, right?
I think several of our terminals do. Jeddah obviously is the big daddy on the Red Sea. It is the biggest port on the Red Sea. It has massive capacity. A lot of the projects are going to be in and around Jeddah, absolutely. But I think Yanbu is the what should we say, hidden rose, so to speak, that there is, in KFIP, we have a massive terminal of just over 1 million square meters. There is a market there behind there for the the Royal Commission, which has great industrial plans and is now starting to see the development of manufacturing and factories, blending facilities. So I think for the Yanbu ports, in particular King Fahd International, have great potential to grow the market for all the commodities, for all the kinds of cargoes. Jeddah is the one everyone knows, and Jeddah is the big daddy that we will grow and we will make more efficient. But I do think the other ports also have a lot of potential.
And last time when we were at Breakbulk Europe, we were hearing from the ports in Northern Europe bemoaning the lack of space that they've got to store project cargo. And I think I remember you saying it's obviously not a problem that you've got. So what issues do you have? It can't all be plain sailing.
No, it's very much not plain sailing. I think it very much, it's an educational aspect to optimize the ports in terms of educating the local industry into how things can be done more efficiency. It's a case of digitalizing very manual operations. Mm-hmm. And by doing both of those, one creates more capacity. The space and the land is there, but the operational capacity and efficiencies just weren't there. And that's what we're working hard on is to educate across the board the industry locally as to how we can make more of what we've got, and then use that to attract more cargo to us. As you say, the project cargo, the Northern European ports lack space. The African ports sometimes on their timings are a little bit out, and we're an optimal logistical springboard for that. And I see that's what we will hopefully start doing in the very near future, is becoming a springboard for projects to stage and then expand from there.
So when you were talking about those Northern European ports, is that what you were suggesting, that actually the project cargo could come to you, stay for a while before they go on to Europe? Is that what you were suggesting, more cooperation with the European ports?
Absolutely, cooperation. For me, I think cooperation is key in the industry today overall. Cooperation and collaboration are required on a global role. Coming back to the projects themselves, we're seeing projects change in nature at the moment. They're getting bigger, they're getting more complex. With the data centers in particular, you're now seeing more large hazardous cargoes being moved, and that requires a rethinking of not just the project logistics chain, but it requires more education, more detail, and more long-term planning. And the key part of that is the coordination between them, not just in sort of staging and storing, but also in terms of how we handle it. What are the requirements? What kind of ships do we need for the future? And how do we handle those ships, and what kind of cargoes? You look at the cargoes, the new energies. We need to take all of this into account when planning long term. And obviously, we're at the start of our journey right now. But the European ports are fairly established, and they don't have as much room to move and that as we do. And I think we can use that to the benefit of both them and us. One example that comes very quickly to mind is windmills, because Europe has huge plans to build all these wind farms, but they don't have the space to put down the windmills.
Yeah,
we have space to put down the blades and hold them until they're needed.
And you touched on the expat situation. How do localization, how do you say it? Is it Saudization?
Saudization.
It's difficult to say, isn't it?
It is very difficult to say, but it's
how does that affect you?
It affects us in many ways. I think one of the key ways for us is something that I've seen in many African countries before, and that is there is absolutely a need to develop the local talent. I mean, you don't want an expat pool that your knowledge leakage is massive then, because your expats come in for a short time, make their money and go on. One needs to develop the local resources and retain the talent and the knowledge in-house. So one of the vital things in any industry, in any business, is to make sure that knowledge is retained somehow. So for us, it's a matter of, one, retaining it in terms of structurally, through systems, through procedures, what have you, but more important that it's developing the local people. As I mentioned before, the Saudis have a population that is very young. Mm-hmm. I've seen in other African countries how that has gone wrong by developing people and pushing them through too fast. But we realize that we need to develop the Saudis, so we're developing specialized training programs to move them through quickly and to give them the experience that they need to move forward. We are under pressure to employ Saudis. We are under pressure to develop them. But I think that's completely natural, and I think it's a good thing, because you have a population. Saudi is a country where your young population has a very good education level. It's really the experience that they lack, so it's up to us to make sure that they get it somehow.
And you mentioned earlier the international strategy. Will you guys look at opening multipurpose terminals, new multipurpose businesses outside of Saudi Arabia?
Absolutely. I'm a very big believer, though, in winning your home game first. So right now we're in the process of winning the home game. We've won the first quarter. We've got a long way to go, but certainly the plan is to grow internationally, to develop an international multipurpose portfolio.
Right.
To do that, we need to have the structures in place and clear, so that we can plug and play the same in other places. Obviously, the timelines are parallel, so it puts us under pressure to grow maybe faster than we'd ideally like to. But I believe that we will start seeing growth very soon, particularly in the developing world. The multi-purpose business is essentially only 7 months old right now.
Okay.
We started with the multi-purpose terminals in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I've been working there for 2.5 years now, but most of it has been focused on winning the home game, not exclusively, but once we've got those stabilized, we will grow very quickly. The plans are in place, the strategy is in place. It's just a matter of making sure we're ready to execute. One doesn't want to start a new thing if you can't do it properly.
Absolutely. And we've just wrapped up with Breakbulk Middle East, 10th anniversary. Talk to us a bit about that event. I know that you've been a regular participant, exhibitor, speaker. Why has that event been so important to you, and what have you got out of it over the years?
The Breakbulk events as a general are a wonderful group of events where one sees very much a broad spectrum of the cargo owners, the ship owners, the asset owners, all coming together and building the relationship. And I think unlike any other event anywhere in the world, the Breakbulk conferences move to develop the relationships between these people on a personal as well as a business level. I've seen over the last 10 years, I've made good friends at the conference that have then translated into business relationships. And I think that's what makes it so unique. Certainly the Breakbulk conference, I remember when we started in Abu Dhabi and there were 1,000 people there. Compare that to the 10,000 people that attended this time. It's grown exponentially, but I think that reflects also the growth of the GCC region and its importance in the international logistics chains. And you compare that to the other, Houston, for example, or Rotterdam, which are not growing nearly as fast. This year they'll move to Singapore, and I suspect that's going to grow extremely rapidly as well. And I foresee that in the next couple of years we'll see Dubai and Singapore being the two key conferences in the world.
And when we meet again for the 20th anniversary of the event in 10 years' time, what do you hope might have changed, either for your company or for the business in general?
Well, I certainly very much hope I'm not around by that stage, but hopefully I'll still be attending. Well, when I say not around in the business, of course. But I think what we're seeing is the world is changing rapidly at the moment. And we don't know what we don't know yet. Projects are changing, geopolitics are changing, and I think that's going to have a heavy effect on the industry. We're lucky enough to have come out of a long period where it was free trade was encouraged and open, and we seem to be moving away from that at the moment. But I hope that, at least from a logistic point of view, those change in relationships can stand open. I'd like to, and I hope to see that RSGT at that stage will be a leading global multipurpose platform, spreading out from the Red Sea internationally. And I think also what we're seeing a lot of is the integration that one has seen in containers starting to take place in multipurpose terminals as well and across the industry. So I would expect that to scale up significantly in the next couple of years, if not longer.
And you've had a long and varied career. What's still left to achieve that you want to do before you stop?
It's about building people and institutions. And I've now been given the privilege to start what I believe is a very good and one with a lot of potential. And I think for me that developing that pipeline, developing the people, developing the leadership of the current organization and the current country are very, very good and a very massive opportunity. I'd like to leave behind a growth and strong culture of credibility and cooperation, as well as success, obviously. I hope to still remain engaged in complex development projects for the rest of my career and beyond. What motivates me now is to build something that still works and can still continue to improve after I've moved on. And I think that's really the focus.
What do you love about the business?
I'm passionate about the whole business. I think it's the opportunity we're given the privilege in our industry to see beyond the tourism in different countries. We're given the privilege to go into countries where other people don't go, to help influence and develop those countries, to see how the people are, to help the people develop. I think that's a great privilege, and I absolutely love that.
Lars, really interesting. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Luke. It's been good to chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with Hareket, proud sponsors of Voices of Breakbulk Middle East. Hareket has been moving the world's heaviest and most complex cargo since 1957, with a reputation for tailor-made engineering solutions. Headquartered in Turkey, they operate across 3 continents, with offices in 28 countries and a team of more than 1,000 specialists. Their work spans engineered heavy lift, project transport, cranes and marine services, supporting oil and gas, petrochemicals, power, renewables, nuclear and infrastructure. Hareket is consistently ranked amongst the world's largest crane and heavy transport companies, with more than 1,000 major projects completed worldwide and strong regional partners like Abu Dhabi Ports. Find out more via the link in the description below. And a huge thank you to Hareket for supporting Project Cargo professionals.
Thanks for checking out Voices of Breakbulk Middle East. We'll be back covering breakbulk events in 2026 in Rotterdam, Houston, and Singapore. Find out more about the events via the link in the description below, and I'll see you there.